guys, I'm here today to do a little check-in video. So, you may know that the only goals I gave myself for 2020 reading wise were 1, to reduce the amount of books I own on my physical TBR, and 2, to try and use the library more because I started using it and I was really enjoying it. Now those two things sound fairly conflicting because if I use the library more, I'm going to have less time to read books off my physical TBR. I know. So I gave myself the number of 5 to try and hit in terms of reading books off my physical TBR. So each month I want to make sure I read at least 5 books from my physical TBR, and I really don't want to give myself the opportunity to not achieve that. So 5 was like my bare minimum, to be honest. So I thought that rather than do like quarterly check-ins or half-year check-ins or even checking in right at the end of the year, I would try and just check in whenever I felt like it, and whenever I felt like I wanted to have a chat with you guys about how I was doing, whenever I had like thoughts that I wanted to discuss, and I felt like checking in. So what I would like to tell you is this sort of breakdown of how I did in terms of my goals that I spoke about. So I read 12 books in January, which 12 as a number is good for me. The last couple of years I have been reading less and less, which has made me very, very sad, and I've been reading like 7 books a month, which I'm not happy with. And I know some people would be like, that's loads. I think everybody reads at different rates and everybody has different time commitments. I work full time, but I don't have children and I have no hobbies, and I'm introverted and antisocial, so I have lots of free time. I get home by 6, I don't go to bed till 11, you know, all free time, and I don't clean my house very much, so loads of spare time. So I think I can read more than 7. 12 is my like happy number, although I do feel like I should be able to read 12 physical books, and like audiobooks should be on top of that because I do walk to work every day and it takes me about 45 minutes to walk there and the same to walk back. So, you know, I'd like to manage a bit more than that. But I did only manage 12 books in January. Partly that was because I read loads of books in the first 2 weeks, and then I've just felt a bit low and struggled with reading literary fiction, which is what I kept trying to pick up. And then in the end I decided to reread a favourite to try and lift my mood. So I'm very happy that February is here. I just found January a bit dreary in terms of like getting back in the swing of being at work, but it's all fine now. So, like I said, I read 12 books. I managed to read 5 exactly from my physical TBR. It was close, guys. It was the evening of the 31st and it was like 10 o'clock and I thought, I'm not going to make it. And then I was like, you have a graphic novel, just read the graphic novel and then you're done. So I don't want to cut it that close because actually 2 of the books out of the 5 were both graphic books. They were super quick and easy to read. And if I was in any other month, like now, I don't have any graphic novels left on my TBR. So I'm going to have to try and manage 5. So I need to be better at that. As well as reading 5 books from my shelves, I reread 1 book, which was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and I loved that. I'd like to try and reread 2 or 3 books a month because it is wonderful and I don't make enough time for it. And I reread a few books last year on audio and I loved it, so I definitely want to do that more. I listened to 3 books on audio, and when I listen to books on audio they're usually books I don't own, so they don't like count off my shelves as well. I read 2 books from the library, which I'm happy with. I feel like if I read 2 or 3 books from the library a month, that would make me happy in terms of like supporting my library and making sure I, you know, am aware of books that I can get hold of there that I don't have on my physical shelves. And then I hauled 3 books and I read 1 of them straight away. That one being Long Bright River by Liz Moore. I spoke about this in my January wrap up. I loved it. Like I said, I hauled 3. So one of the others I hauled was Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. I got halfway through and I DNF'd it, so that's gone. And then I also hauled Cantaras by Carolina Di Robertes, and I started to read it and it was in my period of feeling a bit rubbish, and I didn't want this literary fiction book to suffer because I was in a mood and didn't feel like reading literary fiction, so I put it down, and as long as I read it in the next week I'll still have read it within a month of buying it because I think it arrived through my letterbox on like the 10th of January, so it will still be okay and fit within my rules. I'm cutting it close, but I can do it. And then I started another book off my physical TBR and I DNF'd that as well, so I did actually reduce my physical TBR by 6, but I don't want to let DNFs count because I feel like that could be a way for me to get, you know, even more books off my physical TBR. And then I also had another book out of the library which I DNF'd as well because I wasn't enjoying it. So I feel like all that is okay. I would like to manage to read a bit more, and I would like to manage to read more books I've read before, and I would like to not cut it so close with the reading 5 books from my physical shelves. 7 of those books were fiction and 5 were non-fiction. I'm really happy with that. I'd be happy with that being my average for the rest of the year, because historically I've read like 95-98% fiction, but last year I read a few more non-fiction and I had such fun with them, so I really want to try and amp that up this year. In terms of nationality, not so good. I read mainly books by Americans and British people, which I think is what quite a few of us do on BookTube. I think Juliet Marillier is from New Zealand, so I did read a book by her, didn't actually enjoy it, and it was actually set in Ireland, not New Zealand, so you know. But I did read 5 books by authors of colour, 7 by white authors, and then 1 of the books was an essay collection. And actually it was a brilliantly diverse essay collection, and if the essay collection could represent all my reading, I'd be happy, because it had authors of lots of different nationalities, it had several queer authors, it had authors of different religions, it had people of colour, white authors. It was great, and I think it was really well collected and edited. That was What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, and it's edited by Michelle Fieldgate. I'd highly recommend it. And like I said, that was from just a mixture of writers, but it was a really good diverse collection as far as I was concerned. So yeah, could be better. Like, I feel like I've spent the majority of my reading life reading books by white people, so I'd like there to be less white people and more people of colour. I also would like to read from more nationalities, although saying that, I am aware that I think America's doing pretty well in the publishing industry, and when I say this, that sounds bad, because it isn't probably. Like, I think we all know that in the publishing industry in the Western world, like, massively publishes books mainly by straight white people, mainly men. But I think that America are doing better than the UK in publishing books by people who don't just identify as being white, straight American. I think they are publishing lots of books by people who are born to immigrant parents, and they're publishing lots of books by people who have moved from another country to the US, and so I'm really interested in all those types of stories. And whilst I do want to read books that are written by authors from other countries around the world who still live in those countries, I don't find them as easy to find as books that are by authors who, you know, write a book about that country but now live in the US. And I'd be happy to read those. Obviously, it would be great to also read books by people from all over the world, but I think my focus is way more on like the author's heritage and you know, them being able to write stories about where their parents are from or their grandparents and things like that. So that's something I'd really like to focus on this year, and that's why I said in my goals video that I wanted to try and get more books from the library. And that's because I want to try and reduce all the books I own, but the books I own are not very diverse. Shock horror. So in order to make sure I don't just read loads of books by white women, which is what I read predominantly, I wanted to use the library as a tool, and Scribd, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, as a tool for reading more diversely. And I think that's going to work pretty well, but you know, something I'm aware of is that I didn't read any books, I think, by queer authors other than the essay collection, which featured queer writers. I didn't read any books by authors who identified as having like a disability or a chronic illness or mental illness. That's something I'm really not good at being aware of, and I would like to be. And booktubers like Kendra from the Reading Women podcast are great at talking about things like that and really get me think about it and like realise that I'm shit at it, so that's super helpful. Thanks, Kendra. And yeah, so there's plenty of places I can do better, and I'm glad that I'm at a point where I'm thinking about it loads, because I think historically these sort of things have been discussed on BookTube, and a lot of people have then been like, yeah, that's so true, looked at what they've read, done check-ins and been like, this is how not diverse my reading is. And then it's changed a bit, but not much. And I have been around on BookTube for a while, and I was, you know, saw all those conversations and completely agreed and was like, my reading's really not diverse. But for whatever reason, I still just found it easier to continue to read what I always read. You know, I'm sent a lot of books that are predominantly by white straight women. I get a lot of books from recommendations from other booktubers I watch who recommend a lot of books by white straight women. I buy a lot of books from bookshops that stock a lot of books by white straight women. I say women because there's men in all of these spheres, but I just don't tend to read many books by men. And so one thing I realised was so much of my reading is based on recommendations. So much of my reading is based on hearing someone else be excited about a book. And if I don't ever see people be excited, or, you know, rarely see people being excited about talking about more diverse books, I'm never going to feel excited to pick them up, because that's how I get enthused about a book. And so the second half of last year, I made a really conscious effort to look into, there's so many amazing readathons now celebrating diversity. So I found loads of them, I found the people who started them, and then I just like typed in that readathon, the TBR, like things like Hispanic Heritage Month and Latinx. There's the Queer Lit Readathon. There is, this month there's Blackathon going on, and Read Soul Lit, all these things. Indigathon was great for recommendations, and I just spent hours finding all these new people to watch, and it made me so happy. I've got so many amazing recommendations, and now, you know, when I look at my feed, I am getting recommendations that are diverse because I'm choosing to actively seek out people who recommend diverse books. And so I'm hopeful that I can go from being someone who would be embarrassed to talk about, you know, how many books I read by white people and how many books I read by straight people, to being able to read loads of amazing stuff and get enthused about reading again. You know, I think maybe part of the reason why I wasn't loving reading because I was just reading the same stuff all the time. It's so stagnant, and I wasn't getting excited because I kept hearing the same types of books recommended. And yeah, so I'm really hopeful, and I am going to make sure that when I get books from the library, when I use Scribd, and when I purchase books, which I'm hoping won't be too much, but when I do, I'm super conscious of all these amazing diverse recommendations that are out there, and how there's no point bringing in loads more books by white authors because I've got a fucking ton of them and I really don't need any more. And I'd like to get to the point where, as I reduce my TBR more and more and more and more, it gets to the point where I can look at my TBR that I physically own and actually feel like it is diverse and not just loads of fucking white people. So that's where I'm at. Please feel free to let me know if you have any recommendations, and also let me know if you'd like to me to do a video recommending some of the channels I found, because I would be happy to. And yeah, just anything else. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I've been really enjoying, as I found a lot of new channels, I realised that so many people now do reading vlogs, and what I love is when people do themed reading vlogs. Jean's been doing loads of them and I really enjoy them. So I love it when people pick a topic and they're like, I'm now going to read 3 or 4 books in this topic and then I'm going to chat about it. I really enjoy them, and lots of other people seem to enjoy them too, and it just, yeah, I don't know, I really like watching videos that bit more casual, and they just really pull me in. I feel like it's like a soap I watch, you know, like it always go on, and I'm always hoping there's reading vlogs uploaded now, like more than any other video. So I'm going to try those out, and I am hoping to do one in February for Black History Month in the US, because I have a stack of books here, which I'll quickly hold up for you, that I'm hoping to get free for Black History Month. And I will also do Black History Month in October for Black British writers, but these are by Black American writers in particular, so I'm going to try and get through all those, and I may split it into 2, or I may do 1 and then do a reading vlog of something else as well. I may do a reading vlog focusing on some of the queer books I own, or I may do a reading vlog focusing on some of the books by working class writers that I own, because I think that's something I really love reading about, and again, it's something I've been a bit rubbish at. So yeah, those are my thoughts. That's how my reading's been going. I have done okay, but I'd like to do a lot better than I did in January. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you enjoyed this check-in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.